Everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com, back again with another edition of AEW Dynamite Graded. But how good was Dynamite? We find ourselves in a very interesting position. That's because obviously AEW came off the back of a very badly received pay-per-view in the form of All Out, then had a really good episode last week of Dynamite where the wrestling wasn't anything spectacular, but the storyline progression was really, really good. Well, how would they follow up on that? Would this revival continue off the back of All Out, or would things slump back down again? There's only one way to find out, and that's by assigning each of last night's individual segments a lovely individual grade. That's right, it's time for AEW Dynamite Graded. The first match is set to be Jurassic Express versus FTR, but while Jurassic Express are in the ring waiting for FTR's arrival, here come the Young Bucks with no music. They just walk to the ring, super kick the ref, and walk out again. And yeah, as the Bucks saunter out, looking for all the world like a pair of teenagers who've just discovered that, you know, they can be really, really rude to adults and the adults can't hit them, otherwise they'll get arrested, they walk past Tony Khan, who just looks so baffled. He's like, "What are you doing, boys?" Anyway, FTR come out, the match begins, and FTR start immediately out wrestling and isolating Jungle Boy. But he quickly scrambles away, gets a tag to Luchasaurus, who comes in, and FTR take a timeout with Tully Blanchard outside the ring because Tully's realised, well, hang on, he's big and a dinosaur. Things progress a little bit. Jungle Boy gets the hot tag again to Luchasaurus, who this time comes in with all of his, his bang and his boosh and his kia and his wee bang, all of it. Yeah, you know what I mean. And then the match gets very, very interesting because usually the formula of Jurassic Express matches is Jungle Boy starts off well, gets beaten down, hot tag to Luchasaurus, and then everything breaks down and then they either win or lose. Here what happens is Luchasaurus runs out of steam from his hot tag, tags Jungle Boy back in, and Jungle Boy just starts going for pinfall attempt after pinfall attempt after pinfall attempt in a variety of nice, smooth, technical ways. He gets so many convincing near falls, and then Dax Harwood gets a few off him as well with the tights grabbed, and then Jungle Boy will roll back through and get a 2 count off him, and it's really, really compelling. While this is all going on inside the ring, on the outside, Luchasaurus flies at Cash Wheeler, jumps at him, but Cash Wheeler moves out of the way, and Luchasaurus just flies into the front row, where there's a group of trainees handily positioned to go, "Ah!" and then provide a safe landing for him. Back in the ring, this means that it's now 2-on-1 against Jungle Boy. He does get a roll-up and another near fall on Dax Harwood, but Cash Wheeler reaches through the ropes from the apron, rolls that pinning predicament over so Jungle Boy's on the bottom, and then illegally grabs on for leverage. The referee doesn't notice, and Tully even gets involved from the outside as well, grabbing Cash Wheeler, so there's like a chain, a leverage chain, and Jungle Boy can't kick out. This gets an A- grade. I really enjoyed it. It was a bit different from your standard Jurassic Express match. It was a little bit more in the wheelhouse of FTR, but I think even though they lost it, I think this really helped Jurassic Express get over a little bit more as more of a team of substance than we perhaps first realised. So a good start to the show, but then we go backstage and oh my god, Alex Marvez is our roving reporter on the scene. He's like, "Guys, there's a situation, come on, let's have a look." Shout once in a while, Marvez. Raise your voice and just shout, come on. Because I know what it's like being in a wrestling promotion when you're not the most theatrical or dramatic person. I know what that's like. I was completely out of my depth. But when you panic in those sort of situations, when I was on the mic, I found myself shouting more than I should have done because of all the adrenaline and the nervous energy. Marvez goes the other way and just kind of goes, "Well, there's a situation, we better take a look." And I'm like, "No, go over the top, be big and, come on." He's getting there though, he is improving. Anyway, the news that Marvez has discovered backstage is that Matt Hardy has been jumped. He's on the floor clutching his leg. Private Party are looking over him like, "Oh my god, what's wrong?" Marvez is like, "Guys, what happened?" They're just like, "We found him here. He was meant to be giving us a few pointers for our match later on, but now he's been taken out." And then Jericho and Jake Hager, Private Party's opponents later on, they walk past to make it so blatantly obvious that it was them who committed the assault. Jericho's swinging his baseball bat around, Matt is clutching his leg as if it's been struck by a blunt object, and unless Steve Blackman's walking around backstage with a kendo stick, and Lord knows I wish that was true, it was probably Jericho. No grade for this segment, it was a little bit too short, but we'll get to the match later on, and great drama from Marvez as always. Next up, singles action as Hangman Adam Page takes on Frankie Kazarian with Kenny Omega on guest commentary. And we learn on commentary as this match gets underway that this match was originally meant to be a tag match between Hangman and Omega against SCU, but Omega turned it down. Awkward. Hangman is fired up and serious early on, but Kazarian manages to more than hold his own for many portions of this match. Also, they do a nice big lariat exchange at one point where they're just going bang, bang, back and forth. Then one will duck one, they'll turn around, they'll do it again, someone will hit the ropes, bang, big lariat off the rope. These lads think they're in the G1 climax. Towards the end, Kazarian comes very close, getting a series of near falls, one off an Unprettier, love an Unprettier, great move, one off a slingshot cutter, bringing Hangman from the outside of the ring back into the ring, big cutter, but again, it only gets a 2 count. So then Kazarian goes for that slingshot cutter again, but this time Hangman hangs onto the ropes, he's seen it coming, and as Kazarian turns around, he is met with the buckshot lariat, and that's enough for Hangman to get a very hard-earned win. After he's won the match, Hangman turns around looking for Kenny Omega to maybe come down to the ring and congratulate him on picking up a big singles victory. But as he turns around, he realizes that Kenny is already gone. And Hangman sadly walks over to a corner and just sadly again, just downs a beer. That's the saddest beer ever seen. This gets an A- as well. Oh yes, the show is off to a very nice start indeed. This was a proper bar fight of a match, mixed in with some more modern athleticism. Great to see Hangman mixing it up in the singles division again, and great to see Kazarian get a shot as well. We often forget what a great singles wrestler he can be, and he more than delivered in this match. Next up, we get MJF versus Sean Dean, one of the enhancement talents. As MJF's making his entrance with Wardlow in tow, none of the heels on that side of the ring kiss his Dynamite diamond ring as he's offering it to them. Has he maybe lost a little bit of respect after losing that title match to Moxley? Sean Dean gets in the ring, the referee turns to call for the bell, and MJF just immediately pokes Dean in the eyes. The ref turns back around. MJF's already got Dean in the Salt of the Earth Fujiwara armbar and picks up the instant submission victory. MJF then gets on the mic and says, look, we all know one thing, right? I am an honest man, but somebody who's not an honest man is dictator Jon Moxley, who cheated to beat me at All Out. MJF says we should now refer to him as the undisputed, undefeated, uncrowned world champion of AEW, and he forces Justin Roberts to announce that. It's a mouthful, but I'm sure we'll get used to it because he's probably going to say it a lot of times. MJF then says, you know, I'm never going to get a fair shake around here. It seems like to really gain an advantage in AEW, you need to be part of a group or a stable, and maybe it's time for this lone wolf to join a wolf pack. I'm not sorry, I know I pointed at myself. That's what MJF said. I'm not just saying maybe it's time for this lone wolf to join a wolf pack. Although now I've said it, feels pretty cool, guys. This was more of a promo than a match. You know, it was a promo with a little match at the start. But overall, this segment gets a B+ grade. Very interesting developments. What is MJF going to do next? Is he maybe going to try and join the Inner Circle, perhaps, thereby playing off that teased rivalry between himself and Chris Jericho? And what's Wardlow going to think of this? Because as MJF was cutting this promo, Wardlow was kind of looking a little tiny bit confused at times behind him. Next up, we get another promo segment as Eddie Kingston hits the ring, flanked by his stable, his family, Phoenix, Penta, The Butcher, and The Blade. Eddie says he's got 3 points to make. Number 1, he won that Battle Royale, and he deserves a title shot. Number 2, these guys are a family, and normally when families fight, they might make up afterwards by going for a big meal or something, but not these guys, because they're a family of violence. And then he goes, get some victims in this ring right now. They head outside the ring, they grab 3 of the developmental guys, the enhancement guys from the crowd. One of them's Griff Garrison, by the way, throw them in the ring and just beat them down, while Kingston's on the mic all the while going, oh, look at his weird hair. Can't do a New York accent. He's from Yonkers. I can't. Oh, I feel uncomfortable. And finally, Kingston makes his 3rd point and says, right, now we've got our house in order. Blade, it's time for you to get your house in order. Oh, God. Watch out, QT Marshall. You're going to get beaten down very soon, I imagine. This gets a B+ grade as well. I like this. It gave the family, or the stable, I don't know what we're calling them, a new sense of menace and danger about them. Also, I'm enjoying whatever's going to happen next with the Blade. That's quite an interesting, undeveloped storyline that we're going to hopefully see developed. And also, I think it was just nice to have an Eddie Kingston promo where Jake the Snake didn't interrupt him for once. I'm sure he tried. I'm sure he was rampaging through Gorilla with the mic going, 1 second, and everyone's like holding him back. No, that probably didn't happen. No, that probably did happen. Next up, we get that tag match, Chris Jericho and Jake Hager taking on Private Party. And Private Party are fired up for this one, especially after Matt Hardy, their mentor, was jumped backstage, probably by Chris Jericho. So they're straight out the gate. They're taking it to Jericho and Hager. Big dives, big double teams. You know the score. The heels fight back. They beat down Mark Quinn a little bit. He gets the hot tag to Isaiah Cassidy, who starts to run wild for a little bit. But then Jake Hager deals with that. Because while the referee is checking on Jericho, Cassidy heads to the apron to springboard back in, and Hager's behind him with the baseball bat and just cracks it into his spine. So the heels take control again for a little bit, and it seems like if Jericho and Hager are going to be a regular tag team, this is probably the section of the match where you're going to get the most laughs, because while they're beating down their opponents and taking control, and it's the heat segment of the match, they're so funny, or Jericho is so funny. There's lots of taunting, lots of posturing, lots of posing, and I feel like Jericho knows what he's doing by this point. It's always going to be something to watch, like to keep your eye on during this portion of their matches. Mark Quinn bravely takes Jake Hager all the way to the outside with a huge clothesline, and now it's down in the ring to Cassidy versus Jericho. Jericho goes for the Judas effect, Cassidy ducks it and gets a roll up, and it's a convincing near fall, but Jericho kicks out at 2. But Cassidy is undeterred. He goes for his springboard, like his bottom rope springboard cutter, a very nice variation of the standard middle rope cutter. I really like to see it. Jericho's flat on his back. Cassidy heads up top. Jericho avoids the swanson. Judas effect back elbow. 1, 2, 3, and the heels win. Jericho is clearly quite furious that Cassidy had the audacity to nearly beat him, so he starts beating him down after the bell. He puts him in the walls of Jericho, but here comes Mark Quinn storming back into the ring and nailing Jericho with a huge Pele kick to stand tall at the end of the segment. This gets a B+ grade. I feel like Jericho and Hager are probably going to be a very entertaining heel team in the tag division, and also, I'm liking where this is going with Mark Quinn. Could we be seeing him versus Jericho in the near future? Next up, there's barely a time to catch your breath in this week's episode. It was all action all the time as we get Thunder Rosa defending her NWA Women's title against Ivelisse. This one's a pretty evenly matched start, with both women going for arm drags at the same time and stopping and going, oh, okay, both slapping each other in the face, both getting out of moves that the other one has telegraphed slightly and then being like, I got you there. There's a lot of taunting and a lot of posturing, but also a lot of great technical action. Worth noting as well that Diamante, Ivelisse's tag team partner, is on the outside and provides an early distraction pretty early on in the match to allow Ivelisse to get a near fall off a roll-up. Hikaru Shida watches on from the crowd while this match kicks into a higher gear, with Thunder Rosa nailing a lovely Shibata-esque running, leaping dropkick, but then Ivelisse gets back into the match with a Tiger Driver of all things for a near fall. Ivelisse kind of swivels her body around on the floor and just nails Thunder Rosa with a massive boot to the head. And on commentary, they do a good job of saying, oh, that's the move that won her the women's tag tournament. But Thunder Rosa kicks out. A little bit later on, Rosa gains control, massive tombstone pile driver, 1, 2, 3, and she's retained her title. But just as she starts to celebrate, Diamante's in the ring from behind to lead a heel beatdown. They beat down Thunder Rosa a little bit, but here comes Hikaru Shida in from the crowd to even the odds and send the heels running. And then, interestingly, Shida picks up Thunder Rosa's NWA title and hands it to her in like a moment of respect. But could it also be seen as Shida wanting the belt, or is it just a moment of respect? I don't know. Interesting developments here again. This gets an A- grade, another great match on Dynamite, and also it sounds like I've just listed a sequence of moves in this match, but this one was really all about all the things that happened in between those big moves. Great performance by both women, and another great performance in a row from Thunder Rosa. What a roll she's been on. Next up, Kip Sabian, Miro, and Penelope Ford are in the gym, and Miro's just blasting out bench presses, like so many reps. I know what I'm talking about, huh? This little segment is basically just a reminder that Miro is here, and as he makes very clear, he can't wait to destroy someone in the ring. But Kip calms him down. He's like, whoa, 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 big guy. Remember what I told you? And Miro's like, sorry. First of all, it's your bachelor party, of course. Then they talk about like Call of Duty a little bit, and I just don't know what's going on because I've not played it. If they were talking about Fall Guys, I'd know what it was. But I don't know what anything means. What's a Car 98? No grade for this one, but I am very excited to see what Miro does next. And there seems to be just the tiniest little of wedges between himself and Kip Sabian. Miro's more violent and focused. Kip Sabian's more like, I'm about to get married, dude, like just chill. Would it be beyond AEW to mock the constant Lana being stolen from Rusev angles in WWE? And would they do that themselves with Miro stealing Penelope Ford? I don't know if I'd be a fan of that or not. But it's just a prediction I'm throwing out there, so I look really clever if it comes true. Next up, everybody dies, and it's now or never. I don't wanna live. It's Lance Archer and Jake the Snake. Jake the Snake Roberts gets in the ring and says, would you trade your heroes for ghosts? Would you exchange pleasure for pain? And I'm like, these are just lyrics from Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here, in a slightly different order. And now I'm thinking, are all of Jake's really cool sounding promos like this? Are they all just songs that he's picked from like 40 years before that promo took place? I don't know what's going on, Jake, mate. Have you got something to confess? Jake says, sometimes in wrestling, you find yourself in bed with somebody that you wouldn't really expect to find yourself in bed with. And himself and Lance Archer, well, they're looking for tag team partners because Archer is facing Moxley in a 6-man tag next week, and they need to get people on their side. So he said, well, if you're going to lie in bed with the devil, you might as well do it with the Tasmanian devil. And here comes Taz. Taz gets in the ring, and basically we learn that there's a deal between the two parties. Taz has provided Ricky Starks and Brian Cage to Lance Archer as tag team partners for next week. And in exchange, when Lance Archer beats basically Jon Moxley because they're assuming he's going to win, then Brian Cage gets the first shot at the title. They are interrupted by Moxley's music. He's up there in the stands and just immediately gets grabbed by a fan. And I'm like, oh God, it's happened again. It's happened again. Like, I actually got a shock watching this. Thankfully, it's just Ricky Starks in disguise. Cage comes along as well, and they start beating Moxley down. But then a slightly familiar figure charges up the side of the stands and starts taking them down and chasing them away and basically saving Jon Moxley. And it's none other than Will Hobbs from the Battle Royale at All Out, and from losing on Dark sometimes, and from losing on Dynamite less occasionally than that. But, you know, he's here now, and that's what's important. Hobbs is impossibly fired up, and Moxley gets on the mic and gives him a big introduction as one of his tag partners for next week. And also he looks into the camera and says, Darby Allin, I know you're watching at home, get yourself here next week and let's have a big old 6-man. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's good from Moxley. He did well without seeming too cheesy. He introduced his new babyface mate to us without it coming across as hackneyed. This gets a B+ grade. I'm liking the political maneuvering being done by Jake and Taz, and also I'm enjoying that Will Hobbs is getting a bit more of a sustained push than I might have expected after his impressive showing in the Casino Battle Royale. And finally, oh yes, we get to the main event, and you can already tell that I love this, and if you watched this episode, you probably loved it as well. I hope you did, because it was brilliant. The parking lot brawl between Santana and Ortiz and the Best Friends. Santana and Ortiz rock up dressed in Dead President's face paint, or if you've not seen the film like me, they look like they're big fans of Sting, aren't we all? Best Friends are there as well. The ref rings the bell and it's underway and they're just going for it. And the atmosphere is so good. There's cars all around. There's, you know, everyone, all the developmental talent from the crowd has moved to this area. They're all there cheering and wildly like yelling, and weapons are clanging off things and things are hitting the floor. The atmosphere of this match is really, really good. Straight away, Santana gets sent just bang into the wing mirror of a car and it shatters and he's down and he's out of the match for a little while, and when he comes back, he's busted open early on. Meanwhile, Best Friends stick Ortiz under the hood of a car. I felt dirty saying that because we don't say hood in England, we say bonnet, a much nicer word. So Best Friends stick him under the bonnet and they start slamming it up and down on him. They go up top to the top of the car and hit big sentons off the roof onto the bonnet. So good. You can tell that Best Friends, those dirty indie boys, are really in their environment here. They're in their element. Santana comes back and turns the tide. He's hidden that baton that he uses, the retractable baton, in like the wheel arch of a car. So he gets that. He's like, right, it's time to turn the tide here. Starts battering Best Friends, and Santana and Ortiz take control. They take Chuck Taylor up to the roof of a car, and I think it's Ortiz who hits a vertical suplex on him and he just goes bang on the roof of the car. And then Santana's on an adjacent vehicle, leaps off with a perfectly placed splash from one car to the next and gets a near fall. It's good aim, really good aim from Santana. I would have been terrified. Best Friends fight back. Chuck Taylor gets a guardrail, lays it against a car to make an angle like that, and just suplexes Ortiz through it. That one looked very sore. And then even worse, Trent falls victim to a double running powerbomb from Proud and Powerful into the windshield of a car. Just whoosh, glass goes everywhere. And after that, you see that Trent's back is messed up. Yeah, now the Best Friends are really in trouble. Trent is just out of action for the moment after that powerbomb. Chuck is leaning against the back of a car. He's all exhausted. Santana's got a lead pipe he's found somewhere, and he's walking menacingly towards him. And who should save the day? Right, so the boot of the car, the trunk of the car opens, and who's inside? It's only bloody Orange Cassidy. He leaps out, Superman punch to Santana, KOs him. He's got a chain wrapped around his fist and everything. Orange Cassidy came to play. Chuck pile drives Santana on the hood of a car. Trent hits his big air raid crash on Ortiz into the flatbed of a truck. And that's enough for the win. And the Best Friends pick up a brutal victory in the main event. And the three friends, they all like put their arms around each other, they stagger off. Cassidy doesn't stagger, he's pretty fresh. But the other two stagger off. They all pile into Sue's car. She's coming to pick them up. They all get in the car. And as Sue drives away to end the episode, she gives Santana and Ortiz the finger. She flips them the bird out the window as she drives away. It's a perfect ending. This was so much fun. I can't give it anything other than an A+, because no promotion does these wild backstage brawls quite like AEW. I think this is the best one they've done, probably on par. Now, it might be first or just second to Omega and Matt Hardy versus Jericho and Sammy, but it's very much in the same sort of region. I wouldn't put it in the same category as the Stadium Stampede. That was more of a cinematic kind of match, whereas Tony Khan has apparently said that this one was shot in one take, so it was more of your standard backstage brawl. So overall, off the back of that main event, and a really strong opening few matches to the show as well, and that match between Thunder Rosa and Eva Lise, I'm going to give this Dynamite an A grade. Really good stuff. Kind of the opposite of last week's Dynamite, where I said it was really good for storyline development, but the action wasn't anything special. This week, the action was very strong, very consistently so, but the storylines developed a little bit, just not as much as last week. So I thought it was still a very good show, despite being the opposite of last week's very good show. AEW have come off the back of All Out really well, despite that pay-per-view being badly received, and it looks like they're very much in the process of bouncing back strong. So that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. What did you think of this week's episode of Dynamite? Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. Stay safe out there, stay positive, and I'll see you very soon.